What's up, nerds? Gozmaster here with the Magic the Gathering Puzzle Quest. Today's quest, we're going to be ranking the top 10 monocolored planeswalkers in the game right now. I think that are fantastic. I have a tiered list that I made. It was very a la my buddy Nalthazar. I'm going to put a link in the description below so you can actually go see and check out all the different planeswalkers, how you rank them differently. But most importantly, right now in the vault, there is a huge sale going on planeswalkers, and I get asked all the time, guys, which one should I target? Which one should I go for? Which one should I avoid altogether? And in this video, I'm basically going to be going over exactly what I think you should chase, what I think are avoidable, and I want to give a disclaimer before we go forward here. I'm actually going to be ranking these a little bit differently. I'm not going to be going off of power, although that's going to weigh heavily into the way that I do gauge and judge these builds. I'm really going to be focusing on playability, fun, and then the top tieredness of those walkers for themselves. So yes, this is a tiered list, but this is also going to be uh, in a comparison and kind of breaking down what works and what doesn't inside of the game, and which I think are the walkers to really target and others to avoid. We're going to start off with our F tier here real quick, and I'm not going to go too far into this. I'm just simply going to go ahead and note that these are really bad. Any of the Origins walkers that are available for you after your first trials, I normally tell you to avoid, but the worst walker that I can possibly think of is, or as many refer to him as Fibblethip here on the back end. Very low abilities. He's got nothing that will wind up winning you any events. Don't waste your hard-earned gold on this guy. I know there are some folks that absolutely adore them. There are going to be a lot of people that disagree with me. Feel free to comment below and let me know I'm an idiot. I'm totally cool with that. I just, I always come from the perspective of a newer player coming to play this game, and then they have limited resources. Maybe they're free to play, and they're asking genuinely, where should I invest my crystals? Where am I going to get the biggest win ratio for the gold? Where's the biggest bang for the buck? And Fibblethip is absolutely the worst in my mind. I just don't understand why people like playing with that. So there you go. The next for me on that tier is Jace Telepath Unbound. He's awful. He's one of the origins. He's low life. I'm not going to go into much of what he does. He's just a terrible, terrible walker. You have Tezzeret the Seeker, low mana gains. It's not a very good walker, not much ability there. I'm not going to spend too much time on these. Nissa Sage Animist, Liliana Defiant Necromancer, she's one of the origins as well, and Chandra Roaring Flame. Pretty terrible walkers, not worth getting at all. In fact, I have these ones. I have all of these ones, and I can speak from experience that I say these are not good walkers. I never use them, nor do I recommend ever using them. Okay, so the next tier we're going to get into is going to be into the D tier. So on the D tier, the reason I'm commenting on these in this way is because I don't own these walkers. I've never seen a reason to get these planeswalkers. Now, I'm probably wrong on one or two of these. There's one that I just picked up, and one in here that I may pick up. And if you have a recommendation, if you think they're really strong compared to the way that I break them down, as you see the rest of these, please let me know. But I'm going to go through these quickly because I don't own a Johnny, Adversary, or Strength. I don't own Basri Ket. I don't own the Chandra's Awakened, Heart of Fire, Ignited, or Defiant. Again, I know one of these is probably worth getting, but not in comparison to the other Red Walkers, so it's a waste of resources in my opinion. I won't play with them. Elspeth, Sun's, what is she? Sun's Champion, or Nemesis rather. I don't have her. Gideon. I don't think I own a Gideon at all. Do I own any Gideons? Blackblade and Trials and Ally. Nope, I don't own any Gideons. And there's a fourth one in there too. I don't even think that much about the dude to get all of the Gideons right. I don't care. I just don't have any reason for a Gideon. There's no Giddy up in my Gideon. Jace, Sexy Jace, and Mirror Mage Jace. So Jace, Cunning Castaway. Really, these should be swapped. And then there's the Lilianas. Now, again, this is another section where I'm gonna get told you should really get this one because of that. I just don't see any value in these. Dreadhorde's General, Master of Death. Maybe I could see something in those, but Last Hope, and whatever these are. Like all of these ones here, I don't even know all the four names of these ones here. Dreadhorde General, I know I don't have. Master of Death, Last Hope, and there's one more here, and I don't know the name of it. I don't even care enough about them to get their names right because I just don't care. I'm not gonna play with them because I don't think they're that good. Mu Ling is another one here that I don't use or don't own and won't plan on getting her. Nissa Vital Forge, don't have her, don't want her. Sarkin Fireblood, nah, way better mono reds. Sorin Fireblood or Sorin Imperious Bloodlord. A lot of people are gonna say he's fantastic. These two right here are probably on my maybe list. I might pick them up if I don't see anything else in dual or tricolor walkers that I want. And I got to manage my resources, frankly. I don't have unlimited funds. Thank you very much. Tyver Kell, I hear, is really cool with mono green elf building decks. Awesome. And then you got the Vivians. Reed, Arc Bow Ranger, and then Monsters Advocate. I don't have any of those. I've never seen a desire for them. It's just not something I've ever wanted because Garuk is a thing. So again, this tier, I'm not saying they're awful. I'm saying I don't own them, and they're awful, and I don't see a reason to get them, frankly. So that's the story. I'm sticking to it. All right. Talk about these as the C tier. Now I own these, but I don't really ever play with them. I don't ever use them. And so I'm going to go into my list here and kind of go over what I do. So we're going to start with Obby here, Ob Nixilis. Ob I don't use. He's a one-trick pony. He has a lot of things working against him. He's just not that great. Garuk Wild Speaker. He makes token creatures at all three of his ability levels. Kind of cool before Garuk Unleashed was a thing. Garuk Unleashed just totally makes him irrelevant. And there's so many good, great green, mono green planeswalkers. You're just never going to use him. Luca, Wayward Bonder. I got a special place in my heart for Luca. I got a special place in my heart for Luca. This is the first planeswalker Octagon ever gave me as to review, and I truly am so appreciative. Thank you so much. I just can't recommend this guy with so many other great mono red walkers. The red walker area is so congested with great walkers that it just Luca's not bad. He's just not good enough, frankly. Liliana Death's Majesty is another one I own. I never play her. This is one I know, like for example, Nalthazar is way higher on her than I am. I just never play her because A, my playstyle, and B, I just think there's better, stronger walkers available to choose from. Elspeth's Sun's Champion, +7 to her ability to white. Awesome. Never use her. Never ever use her. Sarah has the same bonus, I believe, but I never use her either, and you'll see why because of my higher tier deal. So again, and Jessica. I think Jessica Thrice Reborn has some interesting stuff. I just haven't had enough time to play with her, and haven't made enough time to play with her because she's not priority enough to play with properly and still get the full results of what I want out of them. So again, at the C class, I think that these guys are, I completely understand why people would want to play with them or would choose to play with them. Maybe it's your play style. Please don't take this as a direct assault against who you are as a person or as a gamer. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the fact that I just don't I don't have enough room in my play time to figure out ways to make these great for the win percentages that I like to have and to maximize my win rates. So those are those. Okay. The next tier is my B tier. Now, this is a really short list. And what I want to talk about here is there's three planeswalkers that are here that I think are really powerful. I just haven't spent enough time focusing on them in the current meta to make them great. So if you have every planeswalker above what I'm going to talk about from this point after the top here, these might be some you want to consider. Okay, so let's start with the bottom on the list here, which is Tezzeret Artifice Master. Now, the reason why I'm interested in breaking him is I think he's got some fairly decent mana gains, but other than that, his second and third abilities seem that they're potentially broken. His mana's okay, and his life is meh. He doesn't have a very high life total, but the bottom line is I think his second and third abilities could be breakable. So we'll see. I have to go back and retest and see where that is. The challenge is that mono blue is so congested at the top. Where we go back to Mirrodin and we get the Brothers Wars, I think when those hit Puzzle Quest, I think he's going to be somebody worth having. So again, if you don't have him and you have everybody else above him, might want to pick him up in anticipation of that at some point in the future. Next is Luca, Coppercoat Outcast. He's got good mana gains. He's got good life totals. And red is really strong right now. He's got a great third ability for you to be able to use that can pretty much end games. So he's a really solid walker in that he has that third ability that you can use. However, it's not near as strong as the other red walkers that are above him. And then, of course, my girl, your queen, my queen, Lolth the Spider Queen. Good life. Black is really, really strong right now. She's got a +12 overall to her mana bonuses. Now, the way I'm going to talk about this is I'm not going to talk about the negatives because everybody pretty much averages out to about a 9 total mana gain. what I want to look at is if I swap and I get in color matches, how much mana can I gain potentially upside? My downside I don't really care about, but my upside, like my downside is never going to take away from my upside swaps. I'm only going to swap in color where I can. And in hers, black, blue, and I believe it's red, her total mana gain is plus 12. That's stupid good. That's really, really good. So because of that alone, she does really well. Now the downside to her, she loses life off her everything. Like that's her bag. She loses life. With Grizzlebrand, which I have not pulled yet in the newest set, that might make her a higher tiered walker. So again, if you don't have her and you pull Grizzlebrand, she might be worth pulling. So those are my B tier. I think they're strong. I just haven't spent much time trying to break them yet. And if you have every other walker from this point forward, these might be a great 3 to go get. Okay, next is our A tier. Let's get into our A tier. Okay. All right, now we enter our top 10 mono-colored walkers. Let's start off with number 10, Liliana, Untouched by Death. Now, her black right now, the way I'm going to break these down is I'm going to go over the color strength category, like what colors are really strong right now in the meta, how strong their life is, and in addition to that, what their mana gains are and their abilities. I'm actually going to spend a little time on these. Now, full disclosure here, I literally just picked her up today, so this is one I got today, and the only reason I got her is because of the recommendation off of Nalthazar's deal. So she made my top 10, and I haven't even played a match with her. So if you have experience with her and you want to chime in on her third ability or on any of her abilities, please comment below and let the rest of the people watching this know if they should pick her up or not. So that said, let's start with her total life. So her total life is okay. Well, it's actually pretty low. It's only 102. Her mana gains, though, is plus 13. So she's got plus 7 to black, plus 3 to blue and red, minus 2 to the other colors. But again, I'm only looking at the plus sides. So she's got a total of in color match swaps plus 13. That's insane. That's really, really good. Her first ability is destroy the top 8 cards of your library. Your opponent loses 1 life for each zombie destroyed that way. Second is target zombie swarm. Target creature gets -3/-3 for each zombie, and zombie reinforcements you control up to -12/-12. And then the third is really the real thing. Return the first 3 zombies from your graveyard to your hand, costing 7. So in her case, just filling the graveyard seems pretty good. I'm interested to play with it. There's a lot of synergy with black right now, and I'm eager to go play with it. We will go from there. However, let's get into our number 9, which is Zerial, Archduke of Avernus. Great mana, great life gain, plus 9 or 119 total, right? In her case, she also has a mana bonus of, what is that, 9, 12, plus 12. And her abilities, if I'm really being honest about it, her second and her third are the strongest. Her second is you roll a d20, you create a red devil token, then reinforce it X times. X is 4 plus the roll result. If the roll results in 16 or more, your creatures get plus X and gain Berserker in haste. And X is your roll plus whatever for that number. So really, really strong. And her third ability is just a game ender with a Blood War token on the board. Then that support gains the War Emblem. Roll a d20, deal X damage to any opposing target. X is 5 plus the roll result. This is really all about the card that gives you 20s every time you roll with it, or Barbarian class. If you get to re-roll those using those 2 cards, it makes her ridiculously strong. So as long as those 2 cards are in standard, she absolutely is an A-tier Planeswalker. Very powerful, very strong, and she makes our top 10 list there. Now, the next is Chandra, Dressed to Kill. Now, she's the newest Planeswalker on the list here. I just got her from Octagon, and I've played with her more and more since getting her. I think she's a fantastic walker. I have so much fun playing with her. She is by far my favorite Chandra that I've ever had, and that's why none of the other Chandras need be gotten, in my opinion. So in her case, she's got 97 life, so that's where she's really low. That's the only really negative downside to her that I've got, is that her life total is not good at all. It's under 100. But her mana bonuses are plus 13 total, plus 7 to red, plus 3 to black, plus 3 to green. By the way, Octagon, I love this structure for mana gains. Give me -2 and the other ones, I'm totally fine. But you give me a plus 13 in color, which are 3 colors for a mono walker. That is stupid powerful. Really great. Love it. It really makes mono walkers more flexible. And again, to really start off all of this, I can't stand mono walkers. I don't like them historically. I do not understand the limitations of having one color when you could have dual or tricolor walkers that just allow you more flexibility. Maybe their mana gains aren't as strong. However, it allows you to go out and do more things with limited collections, especially when you're newer. However, because these new walkers are so much stronger and they have such great mana gains, and the card leveling in each color has been so good, Octagon, you've done an amazing job empowering each color in a way without breaking things over the last year. I've been really impressed with how they've handled the power creep, and this is just a fantastic walker. This is a great example of it, and she's by far the best red walker I've seen out of Chandra outside of the one that's above her. So, her abilities: draw a card, you gain 2 experience points. The first red card in your hand gains 7 mana, and opposing Vanguard support loses 1 shield. If it can't, deal 10 damage to your opponent's Planeswalker. The second one: discard a card, draw up to pick one of the first 4 spell cards from your library, fetch that card. It gains Outcast. Hey, Outcast is important because if you can't cast it, then what happens is you have to exile it from hand, and you wind up doing damage to your opponent or a target creature. It's good, but you gain experience points. And then the third is really what it's all about. You wheel your hand with their third ability. You create a fiery gown token. All of the experience you have in your passive ability or in your experience level winds up converting into mana directly to your cards, but you don't lose that experience. So once you've really built around this and focus on gaining loyalty or gaining experience points rather, and casting a bunch of red spells, because that just gives you, that's your passive ability, is every time you cast a spell it gives you 3 experience points, a red spell rather. It just stacks and it just runs and it just goes, and it's so much fun. So I really cannot give enough points to Chandra just to kill. I think she's a lot of fun. And when synergized, she works really, really well. She's also very card dependent. However, Mox Ruby is a thing that's never going to go out of standard. That always puts red and black walkers a little bit higher because of that potential. But she's not my top red walker. My top red walker is actually going to be, at least in this category, is Jaya. Jaya Ballard. Now, Jaya is okay in life. She only has 108 life. Her first 3 abilities and her mana gain, her mana gain is +9. She gets no negatives, but she gets +9. But really, we're talking about her first ability and her third ability. You fetch the first spell in your library. That first spell in your hand then gains 10 mana. So for 6 loyalty, you gain 10 mana, which is a great trade-off. Plus, you draw a card, or fetch, really. And your third, actually, even her second is good. If the last card in your hand is a spell card, deal that much damage to your opponent. If not, gain 4 mana. Discard a, this is the real hook. Discard a card, draw 4 cards. So it's a nice way of dumping a card, drawing 4, giving yourself some more options in hand, and it works really, really well. But nothing compared to her third ability, which is which is professional destruction. You create a major professional destruction token, and that token is whenever you cast a non-copy spell, copy the first 2 spells from your library. They gain full mana. Yes, please. That card with cards in standard that allow you to wheel your hand and give the rest of the cards more mana. Just fantastic. So she's incredibly broken right now. I wouldn't say broken, but she's incredibly powerful right now and a lot more flexible. And when we're talking about fun factor, I prefer Chandra. I don't play with Jaya a lot. However, if I need to win and I have to pick a mono walker, I'm picking Jaya. And finally, the last on our list here for the A tier class is going to be Professor Onyx. I love me some Professor Onyx. You have no idea. Now, this one here is on this list and at this rank because of my playstyle. I love discard. My first deck I ever built was a bruiser deck, black and blue. Discard and counter. I was the most evil when I started back on Unlimited. There was a first set called Alpha, then there was Beta, and then there was Unlimited. I started playing it Unlimited, and I wound up using this strategy to make my opponent discard their hands and counter any spells they had, and then I would get my creatures on the board and I would just go destroy them because they couldn't do anything. I've always been a control mage. But that said, Professor Onyx is really great because of her mana bonuses. She's got +5, +4, +3, so that's 7. That's +12 total in her plus mana category, which is fantastic. Her life total is good. It's 112. So you understand the category. Anything under 105 is low. 110 plus is good. Or that range to 120 is pretty good. Anything over 120 is great. Okay, so that's kind of the gauging category there. So she's got good life, good solid body there. And then her abilities. Her abilities, all 3 of them are fantastic. Pick and fetch one of the first 4 cards from your library, then destroy the others. If the fetch card is a spell, copy it, and that copy gains 3 mana. Otherwise, your opponent loses 3 life. Second one, create a dissection class token. Your opponent discards their first non-spell card, then the first spell card in your hand gains full mana. So essentially, for 12 loyalty, I get to get the first spell in hand, full mana. Third is really awesome. Your opponent discards 6 cards. Your opponent loses X life, and you gain X life. X is the number of creature cards in both graveyards. If your opponent discards less than 4 cards this way, X is increased by 20. Here's why that's important. I love me some Steal Your Girl. You know I love Turgrid's Lantern, and Turgrid in meta standard right now with Professor Onyx is so much fun just to take their opponent's deck and beat them silly with it. I love that strategy. It is so fun. Now, that is why Professor Onyx gets my vote at number, what is she? She's number 6. So there you have my first top 10. So you've got Liliana Untouched by Death. You got Zerial at number 9. Chandra at number 8. Jaya at number 7. And then Professor Onyx at number 6. Now, I want to go into honorable mentions here because I know some of you guys right now are thinking, but wait a minute, guys. You have not talked about some of the other more powerful planeswalkers. We should discuss them now. Okay, so let's talk about them now. So these are honorable mentions. These 4 planeswalkers are powerful, and you should have them. I just don't play them ever. They are stronger than B class. They are in the A tier. They just didn't make my top 10. All right, so the first we're going to start with is Garruk Unleashed, or Garruk Unleashed. Great, great power. Life total 128 for life, so he's fantastic. His mana bonuses are plus 11, so his mana is fairly decent in red, green, and black. Although I would have liked to have seen his green be a little stronger. Whatever. And then his abilities focus on beasts and leader, and those are 2 things I love. Leader is fantastic. So if I can go get leader on a beast and then just keep dumping big critters on the board and make them bigger, then it winds up becoming something that could just roll over your opponent. When I see Garruk Unleashed on the other side of the board, piloted by Greg, I know that the deck is built so good and so simple, that Greg's not going to have a challenge piloting it. He's just going to go run it, and it can run me over, and I can lose to it very quickly. So if you're a newer player to mid player, and you want something green that can go out there and really do some damage, and that you already have the ones I'm going to talk about above this one, he's a great planeswalker to go after. So there you go. He's on my honorable mentions list. Next, I know I'm going to hear the outcry, the rage, like a million voices are going to cry out all at once, and then suddenly we're silenced. No, they're not. You're going to let me know in the comments below. Koth of the Hammer. I do not like Koth. Koth, if it were up to me, would be in the C tier at best. I would put him maybe even in the F tier. He is that bad. He is that bad. Now, I know what I hear you say. Mr. Gauze, you are offending me. You are really taking. He's like, Koth is my mother, and you are insulting her. Oh, this is bad. You're not eating her cooking. Koth is great for many because of his mana gain of +9 in red. Then that's all he's got, and his first ability, destroy 12 non-red gems. Those 2 things are great. He is so limited, though. He only has 3 supports that he can run. So in a planeswalker that really has a focus that I believe is going out and building a support-focused conversion model to get rid of the rest of the gems and keep that red mana going. You only get 3 supports. So it really limits the power of what I can do with him. I am not sold on him. You guys hear me talk about him all the time in a negative way. I just don't like Koth. He is on this list though because too many of you out there think he's the greatest thing since sliced cheese, and in fact, you probably argue he's probably the best mono walker on the board. I completely disagree. I think he's really limited. He's not a win. I've lost so many matches because he just gets to a certain point and he can't do anything to get himself out of it. His third ability is okay. His second ability is okay. It's really his first ability. You're going to spam his first, which means red is in such a good place that if you have red cards in hand, he can fuel them with good mana gain really, really quickly. But if you don't, he's super limited and he's not going to win you very many games. Not like the next one on my list, who I think is much better than him in monocolor, which is Eliwick Tumblestrum. I love me some Eliwick. It's a shame she's mono green because she can't break the top mono green planeswalkers. Eliwick, in her case, has 125 life. She's got a great life total. She's got mana bonuses of +5, +4, and +3, so that's 7, that's 12. She's got a +12 to her mana bonuses. Stupid good. Green, red, and white, respectively. 5, 4, 3. Her abilities: venture into the dungeon, then draw a card. If you have dungeon spoils, create 3 gold tokens. Secondary, really her secondary is where it's at. Pick one of the first 4 different cards from your library. Fetch that card. It gains half of its mana. If that card is legendary, you gain 9 life, then gain 6 loyalty. And then your third is create an adventure song token. Your creatures get +X/+X and gain haste and trample. X is 5 +2 per dungeon you've completed. So in combination, if you use her first ability to venture into the dungeons and do the things, you wind up getting a lot more stuff that goes on with that. And every time you venture into the dungeon, you venture into the dungeon again. She's just works really, really well for abilities. And the great thing about her is she's in standards meta right now with Adventures into the Forgotten Realms (AFR) in standard right now. But even when standard rotates out, she's self-contained, so she will be able to power herself with uh, venture into the dungeon, even if cards are like with that mechanic are completely out of standard, which they're going to be next year sometime. So I like Eliwick a lot. She made honorable mention number 12. Let's go to represent my buddy Nalthazar. Okay, Jace Unraveler of Secrets. Oh my gosh. Jace is so powerful, it's not even funny. Jace is 104 life, so it's low. His mana gain is +9, 5 to blue, black, 4 to black, and then negligible to the rest. But it's really his third ability that makes him as strong as he possibly can be. Create a support that says when you draw a card, each of your creatures gain +4/+4. Now you put that with wizard class and a bunch of draw spells, and you have yourself a party of unbeatable creatures. The reason I never like playing with Jace, I got him just because I saw you, Nalthazar. I saw you do your whole spiel on him, and I thought, wow, that's really cool. And then I played with him, and I swapped, and I got the thing, and I got the loop going, and then I sat my phone down, and I couldn't stand it. It just took forever to get my creatures big. There's a lot of good removal on the board right now, even bounce spells in blue that and really closing statement and mortality spear with some hasty flash removal that just makes it such a terrible, terrible play without haste. If you don't have it, it just makes it very, very difficult. That said, there's no denying his power. Once you get his combo going, he makes creatures as huge as possible. It just takes forever for them to load, and that's why he's not my fave. There you go. All right. That said, let's get on with the next tier. All right. So S tier mono walkers. This class right here, this tier, is really, really powerful mono walkers that I think you should own if you don't already. I think they're fantastically powerful and they can go and win most events on their own, especially with the strength of their colors and with their abilities and what's in standard right now. So we're going to start off with my boy, Teferi Mott, Master of Time. He's got a good life, 112 life. Great mana, so he's got 4, 4, and 3, so he's got +11 to his mana gains, and only -1s to his negative, by the way, which, you know, whatever. And then there's his abilities. His first ability, oh my goodness, discard the last card without mana from your hand, then draw 3 cards, and create a Winds of Fate token. And the Winds of Fate token, I believe, is when you draw a card or something that gives you a chance to be able to do some other stuff with it. It's minor, but it's good. Timeless Image, though, is secondary ability. Disable target creature until the beginning of your next turn. If it's an opposing creature, create a copy of it on the battlefield under your control. Otherwise, reinforce it. So if you can target your own and reinforce your own in case your opponent doesn't play creatures, right? You disable your own creature, but you're still able to do it in a way that reinforces it, makes it bigger, and then you can go from there. There's some creatures that I don't know if they're blue, but you can't disable them, which is kind of cool. Then the third one is really where it's at. Master of Time. Create a Master of Time token, draw 3 cards. The Master of Time token is every time you make your first swap each turn, you get an extra swap. So literally you have a living dual swap token on the board that's just a chef's kiss. Now, with Alrund's Epiphany, Wizard class, and the new blue one from the newest set that has the ability to do another turn as well. It actually is free if it's night. This just makes Master of Time complete control, dominant. As soon as you get your combo in place, essentially you take all the turns and you wind up winning the game very, very quickly. Very powerful Planeswalker, especially when you have the cards that are in hand right now. Really, really strong. Can't recommend him enough. And again, to my playstyle, I like control. I like ones that take a little time. I don't not time to set up so much as when they go off, maybe 2 or 3 turns with the cards in meta right now. once they do, I mean, it's GG. Thanks, see ya. Which brings me to my next one. Now, this guy could actually be flip flopped with Master of Time. Like they could go back and forth, but I give Mordenkainen an edge here slightly, simply because of a couple of different factors here, which we'll talk about. They have the same mana gain bonuses, actually, exactly the same. Oh, actually, excuse me. No, I take that back. Well, it's 9 plus it's plus 12, spaced differently: 4 to white, 5 to blue, 3 to black, which is really good. But his life total is a little bit higher. It's 117 versus 112, so that's a little thing that edges him out. His first ability: drop the 2 cards, pick one of the first 4 cards in your hand, then roll a d20. 1 through 10, exile that card. Okay, that's a little down. Then roll 11 through 19, it gains half of its mana, or if you gain 20, if you roll a natural 20, then it gains full mana. There's a card that makes you roll natural 20s, which means you're basically drawing 2 cards and one of them gets full mana. Pretty neat. This third is really where it's at. You get Mordenkainen's Peningulative whatever it is, Cognation token, then exile your hand and draw the first 6 different cards from your library. It's really fetch, not draw. Those cards gain half of their mana. Now the token itself, actually, what it essentially does is you wheel your hand, regardless of how many cards you have, and then you actually get half your mana in there, and that's fantastic, especially if you have extra loop times with Aldrin's Epiphany and the other one that winds up doing it. You basically run the same deck between Master of Time and Mordenkainen. I just give Mordenkainen the ability to fetch more into his hand versus taking those extra swaps, because there's those spells in hand right now. And we don't need the static ability to go get more swaps. We already have that enough with the spells if you've got the right cards as we go into it. But his passive abilities: you may discard the last card in your hand, and if you do, you draw a card. That's tricky because most of the time you're drawing a card, and when it triggers, anytime you cast a blue spell, you're typically drawing a card and it's gaining mana from something else, and you want to discard that if it's a spell. Now, where that's really beneficial if it's a non-spell card, and then you can ditch it and try to draw into another spell card. But there you go. All right, next and final on our S tier here is Grandmaster of Flowers, Gaussmaster of Flowers, if you will. All right, so Gaussmaster is just fantastic. In his case, he has 123 life, so he's got a fantastic life total. He's got great life. His plus abilities are plus 12 again to full mana, or to his mana abilities, and his abilities themselves, they're just so good. Platinum Scales: draw a card. If that card's a creature, it gets +4/+4 and gains lifelink and vigilance. Otherwise, it gains 7 mana and you draw another card. Ridiculous. That's such a good first ability. His second ability I rarely use, but create a monk on the open hand token, then increase this level by 1. 4 times increase your non-spell cards level by 1. Now, what's great about the monk is when he comes out and you level up, you get to disable the target creature on their opponent's side. So if they've got 3 big critters that are coming at you, you can disable them and buy yourself a turn while you're trying to get into the cards you need to go either wipe the board or do something more powerful that's going to help save your tail. But it's really about his third ability. Target creature's base power and toughness becomes 7/7, then reinforce it. That creature gains first strike, flying, and vigilance against a dragon and god subtypes. Very powerful. You can run it with tokens. It's basically leader without needing to have leader. It just gives whatever token mass you have. I made the mistake when I featured him, like, oh, I've got to go build this leader creature, power it up, and then I can do that ability. No, I can just go run straight tokens, and for every reinforcement that token has, it becomes a 7/7 flying, first strike, haste god, all of the things that go into it. It's amazing. Great Planeswalker, especially if you have some of the new stuff like Savior of Allenbach or Guardian of Faith. Those are the absolute builds for it. They are insane. I'll be featuring some of those very soon. All right, let's get to our S plus tier. The final 2 Planeswalkers that make the cut. These are the cream de la cream, and you probably already know who they are. As dominant as white and blue have been in the S tier, it's green that takes the cake. Now, which green do we go with first? Of course, I'm going to talk about the second best walker, I think, in the monocolor walker right now in the game is Nissa Worldwaker. And I know you guys are all just going to complain and say, that's not right, she's number. No, I know. And I completely understand if you would put her number 1. However, she's not, in my opinion, just because I don't enjoy her playstyle as much. She's a one-trick pony. She does that trick so well that she always wins whenever she uses it. However, I also find that there are ways to go out against her that are better and that I enjoy having more fun with. She wins. If there's token objectives, typically she's the one I go with. If there's converting a certain amount of mana, it used to be who I went with, but now there is somebody else in the field that I actually enjoy playing with more, and I use them. So let's talk about her abilities. So first off, her mana gains are +4, +3, and +2 to red, white, and green, white, red, respectively. So that's a total of +9, and +1 to 10. So that's plus blue. excuse me, +1 to blue, so that makes it a total of 10. 4, 8, 9, 10. Correct. Her first ability. It's all about her first ability. Create 4 forest tokens, convert 6 gems to green, and those forest tokens have haste. So they're 1/1. So you got a 4/4 on the board, essentially with haste, and go smash face. But it costs 9 loyalty. So sometimes it can cost a little bit more to get in there. However, the cascades you cause and her green mana bonuses that go into that makes it really worthwhile. It's very, very good. I don't use her second ability very much, but her third ability is create 4 Ashaya, the Awoken World tokens. That's a game finisher. So you're spamming your first ability, and as long as those tokens don't get destroyed, and those 2 flash destruction spells I was talking about beforehand, Mortality Spear and Closing Statement. Closing Statement's the only one that allows you to flash remove hasty token creatures. So that eliminates one of those cards from your opponent's potential to be able to beat you down with. Plus, Greg never mutes his stuff. But in PvP, it does limit their choices on how they can deal with it. So that's a strength. The downside to her is that it's just really a one-trick deal. And green is, although it's strong right now, and there are quite a bit of cards in green. It's her first ability. You're just creating those tokens, getting that conversion, powering up your hand, and running it from there. She's absolutely a must-have walker. She's an S plus tier walker, always has been, probably always will be, because she doesn't care what cards are in the meta. She just goes nuts with it. So she's amazing. I can't recommend her enough. You should absolutely get her. That said, I rarely play with her, and I rarely play with her because I prefer this Planeswalker, Ren and 7. Ren and 7 is one of the newer ones. Her life total is only 101, so she's low actually in the life total, but it doesn't matter because with her first ability, which I argue is the strongest in the game, you have one with nature. Pick up to 4 of the first 4 cards from your library, fetch those cards, then destroy the top 4 cards of your library. If land cards in your hand gain half of their mana, so if they already have mana, they're getting an additional half of their mana. Very, very powerful with land conversion. Her second ability, Hosting Gems, target creatures you control gets +X +X. X is equal to the amount of green gems on the board, up to 10. Then Coven, convert 2 gems to green. That one's okay. I rarely use it unless it's right on the edge of winning and I just need a nice little bump to my creature power base. Really, it's overflowing. Create an overflowing token. Pick up to 2 of the first 4 non-land cards in your graveyard. Fetch those cards. Those cards gain full mana. You know I love full mana. There's a lot of really powerful cards. Full mana works for stored mana abilities too. So if it's something that doesn't have a full, like a small casting cost, but it has a huge stored mana ability, it gives those full mana as well. So you're hitting those on the board. You're getting all of the strength to go along with it, and it's fantastic. Her mana bonuses are +4, +3, +1, +2. So you're talking about 3, 6, that's 10. So +10 to your mana gains. Same as Nissa Worldwaker, and as a result, man, I just have so much more fun with Ren and 7. She's absolutely, I think, the most powerful monocolored walker in the game right now. I could understand complete arguments for Nissa or for playstyles that might suggest some of these others that are a little bit higher than this one, but frankly, for my money and the fun that I have with her, she's just such a blast. And there's so much versatility you can play with her in the game right now. So that said, what are your thoughts, my friend? Do you agree with my top 10? Do you disagree? Comment, let me know down below. As always, I appreciate you could be anywhere in the world. You chose to spend this time with me here, and I would value your feedback and your support. Subscribe, like, comment, and as always, join the party. We've got a link in the Discord there. We'd love to have you, see your conversations there, and if you have anything you need in the meantime, you know where I am. Till then, I hope you have the happiest of holidays, and I will see you in the next one.